My next guest is Sean Magee, a local business owner and veteran right here from Clarkstown. Welcome, Sean.
Hey, George. Thanks for having me.
So, Sean, for the benefit of our viewers, I know you're a local business owner. Started up a new venture that is already taking off the ground, fairly successful. You have been involved with some veterans projects throughout the years. So for the benefit of our viewers, maybe you could talk a little bit about yourself, where you're from,
Okay.
and your background.
All right. I'm born and raised in Clarkstown, Congress specifically. I went to grade school locally, high school. I was joined the United States Navy in 1990 prior to Desert Shield. Was deployed through Desert Shield and Storm. Mm-hmm. Spent 2 years of active duty, then 6 years reserve, so a total of 8 years in the service.
So let's go back to your Desert Shield experience, Desert Storm. So you went to local schools. What school did you graduate from?
I graduated from St. Joe's in Montvale.
Okay.
But I went through St. Paul's into St. Joe's. And upon graduation, I joined, like I said, joined the United States Navy. And from there, I came off active duty in 1992 and started my education, my undergrad.
Right. And where did you go to school?
I went to SUNY Cortland. Finished Cortland in 1996. I started at a local company, Active International, in 1995, where basically I got the opportunity of a lifetime by two local people, New City residents that started, Alan Elkin and Arthur Wagner, who started the business. Gave me a great opportunity where I got my exposure to the business world. So I kind of I broke the mold. I wasn't going to be a bus driver, my father, or a fireman, or a police officer, like what was in the cards. But and that's where I started my career. And so I spent 14 years there, and I rose up the ranks, and then started another company in 2008. And most recently, in this past January, I started Anchor Media Services, which is a full-service advertising agency, corporate trading agency. And as we discussed before, we're coming into Clarkstown with February 1st. We're going to be establishing our business here.
Great, great. Talk a little bit about your service. So you were in Desert Shield and then Desert Storm. So where were you? How were you deployed? And talk a little bit about your service there.
Yeah, I went into the service in the fall of 1990. Came out of the fall of 1990. Went to Guantanamo Bay, where I met my ship, the USS Thorn. It was a Spruance-class destroyer. We did our Fleet X, which was training for the Desert Storm and meeting up with our battle groups and such. And so I was, in essence, a boatswain mate. I did deck and small boat operations. So I did everything from chipping paint to painting the side of the ship. It was an experience. And then I grew into a job. I got assigned to special details, doing what they call now as VBSS, Visit Board Search and Seizure. And so we would drive the RIBs, what they call as rigid hull inflatable boats. And so when I was deployed in my first deployment in January 91, so I was over just about, I want to say 6 to 8 weeks after the bombing. So everything was calmed down and we were boarding the ships going in and out of the Red Sea. So it was an incredible experience. We were basically the security to make sure there was no armory, no medical supplies, nothing getting into down through the Persian Gulf area. So we were boarding freighters and all sorts of large vessels. And it was, like I said, really good, incredible experience. We did, in a 5-week mission, we did over 96 boardings, which was really it was the first time the United States Navy really implemented this type of program.
It must be a harrowing type experience, though. You don't know what you're really going to encounter as you're hailing down a ship.
Yeah, no. Well, they're the pilots on each respective ship. They shut down the ships. So we say we're coming aboard, and I didn't do the boarding. The Navy SEALs would do the boarding. So my job was as a coxswain and a bow hookman. So we drove the ribs, and the SEALs would board the ships.
Okay.
So it was, but yeah, an incredible experience. So changed my life for sure.
And so that was during Desert Shield?
That was Storm.
Storm.
Yeah, so that was post '91.
Okay. And then, so tell us about your service after Desert Storm. How did you finish out?
I came off active duty in July 3rd, 1992. I'll never forget the day because I couldn't wait to get off active duty. It was my time in was the best. I wouldn't change a thing, but we were haze gray and underway is what we used to say. It was a really it was a time in our country where we were at war, and it was a first exposure to the Middle East, and there was no ships in port. We were always at sea. You were either in the Red Sea, the Med, or somewhere a show of force around the world. So I did virtually almost 2 full years at sea. And by the time I came off active duty in 1992, I took my sea bag, I threw it in the attic of my parents' house, and all I wanted to do was just go to college and get back to my my life.
Get back to your life.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, you also then remained in the reserves as once you got out. And you've stayed connected to Veterans Affairs and trying to help vets. I know that most recently you've joined the board of Bridges, which actually runs the Joseph P. Dwyer program. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the veterans organizations that you're involved with and veterans programs that you've been promoting.
Sure. I came off the reserves. It was I was in active ready reserve, so it was basically if any other issue broke out, they would call up again. But I was injured from active duty, so my chances of getting called were slim to none. So in 1998, when it all ended, that's when I got my honorable discharge, and I celebrated like anything. I would never have to get called up again. And then 9/11 happened, and we saw a lot of veterans. The post 9/11 veteran is a unique veteran that I think our country's never ever seen before, where these young veterans are volunteering after actually seeing what actually happened on our own land. And so I wanted to get back involved some way, somehow. So in about 2005, 2006, I started reaching back out to certain veteran groups. And about 6, 7 years later, I got involved with an organization called Carry the Load. Carry the Load is an organization that restores the true meaning of Memorial Day. It's an interactive way for people to get involved where we carry the American flag from Boston, 2,300 miles every day from starting on May 1st, ending on May 31st, Memorial Day rather, and we go 2,300 miles to Dallas, Texas. And every 5 miles someone passes the flag. We do a rally here in Congress, and it's a great event. And 97% of the proceeds go directly to veteran charities. So
it's a great organization, Carry the Load, and I think you had brought it to my attention when I was a councilman, and I'm proud to have been part of the group that brought it to the fore here in Clarkstown through your suggestion and through your leadership. Tell our viewers how you actually stumbled across them.
I was coming home from work one rainy April night. I pulled into my driveway, and this giant bus was pulling into my street. And I walked out. I recognized the bus from Military Times. There was an article I read about it. And I knocked on the door, and that's when I met a gentleman by the name of Dill Driscoll. And coincidentally, Dill happened to be not only the orchestrator, not a veteran, but nonetheless a very let's just say a very powerful person in the advertising world. He started a few different agencies, and coincidentally that was the world I'm in as well. And we ordered some pizzas for the guys, and he came back, called me up a few weeks later, said, I would love to do a rally in your town. And I said, I would love to be part of it. Let's do it. And so we started, I want to say 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be, this year will be our third year.
Yep.
Incredible just the amount of folks that have turned out. I mean, you know, we had one event with no weather. We had another event with rain, but 500 people, you know, each time or more. It's really great to see how folks turn out, particularly in the Congress area and here in Clarkstown, supporting their vets.
Yeah, yeah. We last year was fantastic. We, as you recall, we honored 70 Vietnam veterans, local Rockland County veterans, which was, I think, it was a very moving experience for so many people to really see, you know, what a veteran goes through and the appreciation the veterans have, with just a simple, you know, acknowledgement that we understand what you've done for our country.
Right. Maybe you could speak a little bit about the Joseph Dwyer program as well, because I know you're now on the board of Bridges, which is the not-for-profit organization that works closely with the Veteran Service Agency and with the state of New York, and they administer that program, which is really a vet-to-vet program. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that program and what that program means to vets here in Rockland.
Yeah, the Joseph Patrick Dwyer program, for people that are unfamiliar, there was, in 2005, Joseph Patrick Dwyer from Suffolk, New York, was an Army medic who ultimately took his own life through inhaling these dust cleaner things. He suffered from PTSD after his second tour. He's famous for carrying an Iraqi boy off the, it was on the front page of Military Times. So if you Google him, you'll find out. But nonetheless, the whole program is based around that, of making sure we get veterans connected with other veterans. So instead of going into isolation and hiding and, you know, separating themselves from the world, kind of have a group therapy where come on out, meet other veterans, and, you know, tell your story. And it's been very, very powerful. It's been, I think it's helped a lot of guys with this. You know, we've had an increase. This is a war that I think our country's never ever experienced before in terms of suicide and what's happening. You know, they're surviving more than they're dying because of the, you know, the armor and everything. So it's not an army on army war anymore. It's a so these young men and women are coming back, and they got a lot of challenges. They're doing 3-4 tours. You know, if you take Vietnam, where horrific, you know, how many men we lost. You were in the Army, you did 1 year tour, Marine, you did 13 months, and if you came back, these young men and women are getting deployed constantly. They're doing 3-4 tours. They're reservists. So there's new challenges, I should say. I wouldn't say they're worse or better, but there's certainly new challenges that our veteran community is seeing. Right. So the program has been growing substantially, and you don't have to be a combat vet to be part of this. It's just any vet. Someone who understands what a veteran does, the volunteer part of just giving up in your service to your country. It's about networking, and so when you see someone that's down and out, maybe you won't be able to help them, but they'll know where to direct them to.
Right.
So
in the moment or two that we have left, why don't we just segue into your new business venture? It's just over a year, Anchor Media Services. Maybe you could speak a little bit about Anchor Media Services, what it does, and some of the focus that you'll be putting on vets as well.
Okay. So I started the company with Anchor Media Services, a full-service corporate trading media agency. So we acquire excess inventory, impaired assets in exchange for advertising credits, which our clients ultimately use to replace cash for advertising, for TV, radio, digital. We also we have a unique position in the marketplace. We're a service-disabled veteran-owned business, which puts us into opportunities with the government. So a federal contract currently with the U.S. Army, Department of Veteran Affairs with a large vector program we're working on. So we've been blessed to hit on some great business opportunities that we didn't foresee. Now, I started the business because I wanted to give local veterans the opportunity to come into a business and get exposed to the private sector, the advertising agency world. There's not a lot of veterans in the media world. And I always look back on my career and the opportunity that my former employers gave me, and I just wanted to give these other young veterans the opportunity as well.
Great. And so Anchor Media Services is quickly growing.
Yep.
And you're bringing on some additional employees, but pretty much you have a focus where you're also trying to give back to vets as well.
Correct. We are earmarked for 2017 to give back over $78,000 into veteran charities in our client's name, which is substantial. There's organizations out there, such as Alethea Foundation, which a lot of people don't know what these veteran charities do, but they do things such as Friday night steaks down in Virginia, where they're bringing out all these veterans from post 9/11 and just doing a Friday night steak at like Morton Steakhouse. And so organizations like that carry the load. Heroes on the Water. We just did a donation program with our military kids. So it's that was really why we started the business. We wanted to take a business that we knew it well, and give a portion of the profits back to those that need it most.
Right. Great. Well, Sean, I want to thank you for being such a wonderful guest, and I want to thank you again for your service to our country in a time of war, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And I want to wish you much success as you continue forward with this new business venture with Anchor Media Services, as it's really hitting the ground, taking off with some great new opportunities with the government. And I want to thank you again for your service to our country. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you. Coming up next, Rockland County Legislator from District 5, Lon Hofstein.